Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Griffin, and I'm a filmmaker based out of Orange County, California. And today we're going to be color grading some footage from the Canon R5, 1DX Mark III, C200, and C500 Mark II. So when it comes to my process for color grading, usually I'm looking to make things look really good, really fast. And of course, there's certain situations that demand hiring a professional colorist, but that's not what we're really talking about today. All the color grading we're doing today is going to be with C-Log 2. So for the 1DX Mark III and the R5, that's going to be when they're shooting in the RAW mode. You can convert it to C-Log 2. And then for the C500 Mark II and C200, that'll also be in the C-Log 2 modes in those cameras as well. So what's pretty cool is I made some custom LUTs that work with all these cameras that I just mentioned, and also any other camera that shoots in C-Log 2. So feel free to check those out. There will be a link in the description if you feel like purchasing those and supporting the channel. So this is actually my first time going through this with you guys. So we got my buddy Tommy, he's boxing there. Okay, cool. So let's say we want to color grade this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new adjustment layer. Great. I'm going to just call this color LUT so I know what it is. Drag it. Usually I just drag this out on the whole project. So like I mentioned earlier, all this footage, this one is from the 1DX Mark III. It's going to be the exact same on the C200 or the C500 Mark II or the R5 if you're shooting in RAW. So if you're shooting in the compressed codec like the H.265 10-bit, it's going to look different. So this would not apply. What I do is I select that LUT. I go over to where I save my LUTs, which is under GC, Death Valley. So that looks a little too heavy to me. I would say no on that one. This one looks pretty cool, I think. This is the Iceland LUT. Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. But just to kind of audition some of the other ones, this one, oh yeah, this one looks great actually. Nice skin tones on this. I mean, to me, that's a cool look right there. Now these LUTs are kind of designed in a way, I really built in the contrast specifically for C-Log 2. So, you know, if you put these on your C-Log 1 footage, it's not going to really look the way it's supposed to. This look right here I love. I would just keep this, but just to kind of audition some of those other looks, we've got Pacific, which is, you know, it's definitely a real stylized look too. I love how that looks too. That's really cool. Let's try Skyrise. You know, this one is probably the heaviest of the whole LUT pack. It's a real specific look. There's a lot going on in that LUT, and for this particular look, I don't think it really works that great. So yeah, I mean, I would probably go back to that midnight one and just call it a day. That looks great to me. I love it. Moving on to clip number 2. So this is that same LUT. We're on midnight right now. It doesn't look bad. It looks a little bit flat. We did use some haze here. You can see some haze in the background. I think it's cool looking. I think we could use a little more punch though. So yeah, this looks great to me. I mean, this is a awesome looking image in my opinion. I would leave it there probably, but let's just in case. Here's Death Valley. Death Valley looks a little too heavy to me. Going the opposite way. Midnight, you know, it's cool. Pacific looks pretty sweet too. And then we've got Skyrise, which it's okay. It doesn't look great on that one. Yeah, I would go Iceland on that one, you know, and call it a day. And if you want, one thing I'd like to do is I'll take a look here. I'd like to keep the black parts of the image around like 5 IRE or so. You know, skin tones, it's up to you where you want to put those. This is that bag over there, so that's a little higher. He's sitting right around 55 or so, 58. Now, one thing I tried to do with all these looks is just make something that works for all the different skin tones. So this was like obviously a much lighter skin tone here. Darker skin tone, still looks awesome. Love it. Looks really cool. Okay, so this, you're probably thinking, hey, what the heck's going on here? So this was shot anamorphic. All we got to do is go to modify, interpret footage, and we're going to go conform to anamorphic 2:1. Okay, so we'll put that there. Okay, so that's not the perfect aspect ratio, but it's going to be close enough for right now. This looks pretty sweet to me. I am really digging this look right here. So this is our Iceland LUT. Now, if we were to go start at the beginning, so Death Valley's heavy, but depending on the vibe here, you know what I mean? I mean, that could be kind of a look right there, you know? I mean, if it's a real gritty old school boxing gym, you want to make it look, and don't get me wrong, this isn't your corporate look. This is heavy, some heavy duty grading going on here, but I think it's cool. Iceland, in my opinion, looks super strong. I love this. I love, there's a little bit of teal in the shadows. That's what's going on there. You know, we did haze the place up, got some nice toppy lighting. This is actually motivated for a hair light that we got right out here. So one thing I'll mention is your footage needs to be properly exposed and properly white balanced. If your footage doesn't look good, then it's not going to look good. So you can see that's the C-Log2 footage, super flat, but you'll notice that his skin tones are properly exposed, even though it's a dark and moody scene. One thing I do like to do in darker scenes like this, instead of shooting it the native 800 ISO of like the C200 or C500, I'll shoot it ISO 400. You'll get cleaner shadows. Feel free to try that out. So yeah, I mean, to me, that's such a solid look right here. So that we are on Iceland on this one. You know, we can try midnight. It's great. You know, you see a little more, it's got a little more depth into the shadows. You can see a little more going on there. Personally, I like the crushed shadows look of Iceland a little better for this footage. Jumping over to Pacific. This has got a little more green tones in the shadows, a little less blue, but I think that's actually a really cool look too. Just depends, you know, we're talking preference here. We're just really talking about which one do you like better. So yeah, again, there's Skyrise. This one's got more of like a little more magenta in the mid-tones, and it's just got these really deep, it's got a really deep kind of moody look to it, you could say. I mean, all these look pretty good on this footage, to be honest with you. So I think that was the last one. Yeah, great. I mean, if I had to pick a winner there on that one, I would probably say Iceland, but you know, you could really go, you can go either way. Jumping over to our next one here. We've got some boxing footage. So this is some more C500 footage here. This one just really looks awesome. This is Iceland again. You know, Death Valley. This is like a real sort of a deep mood here. Probably a little too deep for my preference there. Let's try out midnight. See, this is nice. So slightly less contrasty. This is probably the look right here. In my opinion, this looks awesome. A couple things I'll check for. None of these LUTs are really going to crush the blacks too hard. So I don't like to clip the blacks. And then also when I'm exposing, unless it's something like the sun or like a really bright light source, I try not to clip anything in the highlights here either. I like to keep all the info here. And then you can see that just the C-Log footage, the C-Log2 footage, sorry. You'll notice none of it has anything in that bottom 10 IRE. It's pretty noisy if you expose there. So I would strongly recommend you, even like on that last one, our guy there in the gym, you'll notice, see how I exposed up to, even with that deep look that we got out of that footage, where almost everything's in the bottom 20 IRE. That's not how I expose. I always try to expose where you keep like the bottom 20 IRE clean if you're in a really dark scenario, or if you're in somewhere like this where there's not as many darks. I mean, even this, look at that, you know? And as we put the LUT on there, the LUT's gonna pull the contrast in. So when you're exposing C-Log2, you just be careful not to underexpose it. Otherwise it really jacks up your footage. So yeah, I mean, I would probably say that's a pretty great look right there. That's really cool looking to me, for sure. Awesome. Okay, so that was midnight. I would say if I had to pick one, I'd probably go midnight, just because midnight, it doesn't push as much contrast there. You know, that's a really great look. And again, properly exposed subject too. You know, we're not underexposing. Hopping over to effects control, put that at the right frame size. Yep, we're done. This one was our look. This was Iceland. A couple things you'll notice. We did this intentionally. The scene it has sort of a teal and orange look built in. Orange, orange, teal, teal, teal walls. So color theory plays a lot into this too. Iceland, I would be shocked if that's not our winner. I think it looks so good. Another thing you'll notice here is the lights are clipped. The lights, they're light. That's fine. But again, nothing in that bottom 10 IRE. I mean, we're really nothing in the bottom 15. So we're properly exposed in our subject. So that way when we apply the LUT, it looks great. You know what I mean? It looks awesome. And, you know, you could try a few different looks. Death Valley, this is like a way deeper mood. than the last one. I don't think that's the right look for the project at all. I think Iceland look awesome. I think Midnight looks cool. It's a little bit lower contrast, you know, and if you were like, hey, that's even a little overexposed, the way I'd get that down, I just drop those shadows just a little bit, maybe pull the highlights down, and then you're done. You know what I mean? But let's take those off. And we will go here. Let's go back to our creative tab. So Midnight, what else do we got? Pacific, that's a cool look too. You know, this one's a little warmer. You'll notice, do you see how that warmed it up there? Midnight, Pacific. That's a cool look right there. I mean, for me, it's a toss up between, let's try out Skyrise. It's not the right look. That's a more extreme look. I would say it's a toss up between Pacific or Iceland. Oh man, they both look good. I don't know. Let's move on. So hopping over to our next clip here. You know, this is a cool look. Way cool right here. So this is Brody. He's like this awesome little kid. He's a stud. Great boxer. You know, this could be the look right here. Totally. I like it a lot. That's Iceland. Let's try Death Valley. I mean, it's probably a little bit underexposed for that, in my opinion. So if this was the color palette you wanted, a couple ways you could fix that. Hop into basic correction and just sort of walk that up just a bit. Maybe like, I try to really massage that one. I don't go too hard on that one. I would rather pull up the highlights here. Look at that. And slightly bump the shadows. Open it up. You know, and then now we're looking pretty good. See, we're pretty deep here. We've got a lot of green in those shadows, which is kind of the whole look. And now I actually love that look. Now this is sort of that like real gritty box in look here. It's real gnarly looking. So that is Death Valley for us. If you wanted something, if you're like, okay, that was too intense, let's go ahead and reset that correction. Reset that correction here. And then you've got something that's actually a great look as well. Iceland looks great. Let's hop to our next one. Midnight looks great, a little less contrast. We've got Pacific. This is like a sort of a warm and green tone. I love that look too, you know. Looks cool right here. So a couple other things you'll want to make note of. Even though it's a dark, moody scene, we're still getting exposure on our subject there. We're not clipping any of the blacks down there. And it's a good location. We've got some haze in there. We've got some real toppy light rigged up there. Look at Delaney looking beautiful. So this is from the C500 Mark II. Now, as we go to grade this one, this is just showing what it can look like if you're grading someone that's really beautiful, like Delaney. Okay, Death Valley, you know, a little too contrasty. As far as the lighting goes, it wasn't, you know, I mean, as we're looking at the lighting, we're working with natural light here. Clearly, that doesn't look good, right? You know, in terms of exposure, it's way too crushed down. So I would go ahead and skip to Iceland. It's cool. It could use a little more contrast potentially. Midnight. This actually looks really good to me. You know, it's not as moody for sure, but what you'll notice nothing's clipping in the shadows or the highlights there. It's a good looking frame. I like it. Delaney looks great. So Midnight I think looks great. Pacific, it's cool. It's a little warmer and greener. I don't think it's the right one for this one. Skyrise is definitely not the right one for this one. So yeah, I mean, I think, what do we land on? Midnight? Yeah, that looks great to me. And if you want, what I might do here is I might just select the clip, and as I want to adjust this to my preference, I'm watching here. You see how the black parts of the image are not hitting like around 5? What I would do is I might drop that. I never do very much on that, just a tiny bit. And what I do is I pull those shadows a little bit harder. Pull those down, maybe push the highlights up. So we're pulling the image apart to get a little more contrast in there. I don't actually add contrast with the contrast slider all that much. If I do, it just, I don't know, it doesn't look as good to me. I might pull the highlights up just a little bit. We still got some breathing room in the highlights. And then the shadows, I might go a little deeper there. Great, and we're done. Okay, so this is just showing it like a heavily backlit situation. I want to show you when to use what LUTs. So I would say, you know, Death Valley, this is more of like a silhouetted look. It's okay. actually it's pretty cool. You know, I mean, we're not crushing the blacks there. You can still see some detail in the shadows. It's a little heavy, I would say. So what I might do is just select the clip, go to basic corrections, just a little boost in those shadows. You know, it's just gonna maybe a little more. Yeah, I see that. You know, but again, that sort of silhouetted look was kind of a vibe. I like it. Last one over here. This is C200. This is out in Iceland. So I would say let's go ahead and start up here at the top, Death Valley. There we go. Talk about a mood. You know what I mean? This is like a horror movie or something. This footage was probably a little bit underexposed. Let's see how we did. Oh, we did okay. Yeah, we did okay. See, that we always want to keep that bottom 10 eye area empty with C-Log 2. It's pretty cool. You know, I mean, I might adjust that like this. I would just crank those highlights up a little bit, boost the shadows up, and you know, there you go. That's pretty cool looking. Depending on the mood you might want to feel, I think that could work for sure. I would say I might audition some of those other looks. There's Iceland, you know, and let's take off that correction. It's cool. I mean, that looks great. It's probably a little bluer than what I'd want, ironically, Iceland. We go midnight, a little less contrast, you can see. You can really see all into the dark areas there, which is cool. Pacific. It's a little too green for me, I would say, for this look. And last one, maybe go Skyrise. That's pretty sick looking, actually. What I might do is just make an adjustment, maybe a little more green. You know, let's crank those highlights up, crank those shadows up. You know what I mean? And that's a really cool look right there. So anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that color grading tutorial. I just wanted to share with you a little bit of my process and how I like to do things. And when I was looking for LUTs for C-Log 2, I didn't find a lot that were creative LUTs. So that's kind of what I wanted to focus on with this LUT pack. If you do want to support the channel, like I mentioned earlier, feel free, check the links in the description, and you can go ahead and support the channel by purchasing some of those LUTs. Thanks for sticking around and watching this one, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.